Yeah. Hi everyone, Big Thinny Breathe Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new J Hus project, Beautiful and Brutal Yard. This is the latest full-length LP from UK rapper, vocalist, and songwriter J Hus, who is pretty well established on the London scene at this point, especially with the major commercial success that has come with his past two records going gold and platinum respectively, as well as being credited as a pioneer of the AFROSWING genre, which is a versatile mishmash of Afrobeats, dancehall, R&B, trap, hip-hop, some grime too, and J Hus has also been known to dabble in some UK drill as well. What mixture of these you're getting really depends on the track, but ultimately adds up to J Hus being a pretty dynamic artist, something he showcased pretty handily on his last LP, Big Conspiracy, which had a tight track list that didn't see Hus packing in too much filler or overextending himself. While not a lot of that project for me was mind-blowing or all that memorable, it did deliver a little bit of everything done relatively well. Whether that's trademark Afro swing fusions, such as on the song Cucumber, some classic jazz rap grooves and aspirational bars on Triumph, or even the passionate introspective verses that Hus delivered on the closing cut, Deeper Than Rap. And it looks like we're getting all of that and more on this latest project here, which is really packed with material, 19 tracks on this thing, over an hour of runtime. It's just a matter of whether or not he uses all of this time he's given himself wisely. But to be honest, the start of this LP is pretty slow going. You do have the intro, The Goat, which for a moment shows Hus with some fire in his belly over some crisp beats. He delivers a lot of threatening bars with a gruff inflection. It's a real big dog bark moment, and an epic one at that, with these horn sections layering up and a pretty pointed spoken word outro, which, yeah, got my mouth watering for nothing but fire for the rest of this record, but from here, things toned down pretty quickly. The song Massacre does have some sweet guitar loops and some mesmerizing West African grooves, a smoky atmosphere as well, but it's not really the high-octane vibe that I think the intro track really set us up for, lyrically or instrumentally. And that's doubly so for Who Told You, featuring Drake, which not only has another phoned-in, sleepy, faux accent feature from Champagne Poppy, but the basic rhyme schemes and painful attempts at flirty bars from J Hus, mentioning things like his Long Johnson. It's giving negative riz. And this is one of a few moments on the record that's hitting like that. There's Palm Tree, which is a track about a woman who I guess is a bit of a mystic or a palm reader, which is an interesting angle narratively, but it doesn't really impact the overall story of the record, where once again Hus is giving us bars about the big package he is delivering. Also talks about him and this girl being friends with benefits, and now she wants more. She wants everything, and he's stuffing her chicken, putting pepper in. It somehow gets even worse on the song Fresh Water later on the LP, where Hus can be heard saying, "Baby girl, I like when you suck my penis. When you don't swallow, it hurts my feelings."
Not the suck penis hurt feelings!
Yeah, I mean, look, I expected some slow jams on this record, but I didn't think they were going to all pile up toward the front end of the album, nor did I think the lyrics would read like 13-year-olds talking about sex on Discord. And yeah, the cuts with this vibe continue deeper into the record, but thankfully improve with Nice Body featuring Georgia Smith, where Hus's vocals are a bit too drenched in autotune to the point where they sound overtly robotic, which is weird because I think so far on the record he had proven himself to be a decent singer. But yeah, star of the show on this track is really Georgia Smith. Her melodic runs and her dynamic vocal performance here is great and is not bested at all by anybody else on the record. There's also Masculine with Burna Boy, which I thought was a highlight and certainly clears the last time these guys crossed over. Not only because Burna Boy kills it on the chorus, like that line, "How many times do I have to remind you that?" And that's just one catchy section of a multi-phased chorus. And I kind of dig the lyrics on the track as well, which in a way are an ode to self-control, not making dumb and rash decisions. Sure, it's kind of being talked about in the scope or the lens of like this tough guy hierarchy and energy, but still. Thankfully, the heat on this record kind of turns up from here. There's Come Look, Look, which is basically a bunch of fragmented images of gritty street tales, which again, kind of thought this vibe and energy would come earlier on the record considering the intro, but whatever. Either way, the beat is a lot more low impact than I think it should be for the subject matter it's dealing in. And there's not really much of a chorus to speak of, nor a narrative flow to a lot of what J Hus is saying here. In fact, after so many slower and softer cuts on this LP, I kind of feel like he's giving us this almost out of obligation, like it had to be here on the record at some point. Why not in the middle, I guess? Meanwhile, Cream is a drill cut that also feels like it's fulfilling a quota too, which is a shame because it's certainly one of the more attention-grabbing tracks on the record, especially with that CB feature. Meanwhile, the following Comeback is more of a motivational spot on the record in terms of its message, but I wouldn't say the perspective or advice being relayed by Hus or by Vils on the track for that matter is super profound or mind-blowing. From here, the rest of the album is kind of a mixed bag, honestly. There's My Baby and Problem Fixer, tracks whose itches I think were scratched much earlier on the record, and probably to a better degree. Kind of the same with Killy. The lyrics do switch things up though, as they read kind of like an internal monologue about not wanting to take another life or spill blood, protecting yourself and avoiding trouble. The verses on this cut kind of read like J Hus talking to himself really quietly, which again I think is something unfortunate about it, because considering how little this kind of message is turning up on the record, I think it could have been put more bluntly, more boldly, especially since the following track, It's Crazy, sees Hus allowing those intrusive thoughts to take hold, as he starts to indulge in every violent thought that his mind could possibly bring together, going as far as to liken himself to the Joker and also say that murder gives him a boner. I guess it's grim, but is it novel? Is it catchy? Is it well performed and written? The end of the record is really where we start to get that big, epic production and some of that hungry rapping that we got just a mere taste of at the start of the LP. However, at this point, it just kind of feels like too little too late, even with Bim Bim sounding as huge as it does. There's also the eerie Come Gully Bun. That's most definitely a highlight, which I wish came earlier, or that there were more songs that were as good. But again, we mostly got underwhelming duds instead. And then there is the closer, Playing Chess, which is a victory lap kind of track, but a lot of it is spent by Hus, trying to convince us that he's kind of playing a game that the rest of us don't understand, the rest of us peons, that is. After the past 18 tracks, I'm not so convinced of that. Even if some of the bars on this thing that kind of paint a personal character portrait of sorts are endearing. Look, I'll say this. I don't think this record comes off as particularly bad or mindless. There are some highlights here and there, but the overall package is kind of unfocused, especially in terms of message. It's pretty bloated as well. A lot of redundant tracks here and there, a lot of underwhelming moments, a lot of introspective passages that don't dig that deep, some very, very, very cringe attempts at being flirty as well. The fire and passion that was on Big Conspiracy is here in spurts, but it's just not consistent enough to make for as good an album. Feeling a light to decent 5 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, J Hus, forever.